Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, back at it again with my flag-obscuring antics. You couldn't possibly guess which country's flag I'm standing in front of, so I'll just get out of the way and tell you that it's quite obviously Serbia. So yes, there's the Serbian flag, although, fun fact, you may recall, if you've been around long enough, that 2008, Serbia hosted the contest, and I'm fairly sure they left the emblem off their flag in the logo. I don't know. Weird thing that happened, I remember it because that was the second contest I ever watched, but you didn't come here to hear me reminisce about that, you came to hear me talk about the song that they're sending to Eurovision. This year that comes in the form of a trio who call themselves either Hurricane or the Hurricane Girls, depending on who you ask. And they are Ivana Nikolic, as well as Eurovision veteran Sanja Vucic, plus Ksenia Knežević, who, as far as I can tell, is in fact the daughter of Knez from 2015, so she may have been one of his backing singers. I would have to cross-verify that. What do you mean I have to do research for these reviews? Anyway, the song is called Hasta La Vista. It is a Spanish expression, so the H is silent, and it's presented, well, almost completely in Serbian. There are a couple of words of English in there here and there, like you can hear the words cute but psycho in there if you listen closely enough, and obviously the title phrase, which is, as I said, Castilian Spanish. Music by Nemanja Antonic, and lyrics by Kosana Stojic, and of course Sanja Vucic. I don't know why that would be, of course, you would have thought the whole band would write the song, but Sanja has written songs before, and she's helped to write this one, is the point I'm getting to. Anyway, first impressions. Well, first impressions, Maruv, is that you? In all seriousness, okay Serbia, I see you. Hurricane is right. This song kind of did just turn up and blow through my mind in no small way, to be honest. It's not anything new by any means, but it is an intense experience, especially bearing in mind the songs that two of the band members came to Eurovision with previously, that is, the anti-domestic abuse anthem Goodbye Shelter, and Montenegro's second ever qualifying Balkan ballad Adio. I really hadn't expected something like this at all. Even knowing, for example, some of the edgier, more energetic, or just flat-out crazier stuff that Sanja has produced before by herself, I really wasn't expecting this kind of, well, maybe not raw sex appeal, but this compromise between gynophilic appeal and pure Little Mix-esque girl power. This feels like the most successful interpretation so far of what Armenia has been struggling with and what Greece is ultimately aiming for. And yeah, it's a bit reggaeton, but this is how you use that rhythm without sounding like you're blatantly trying to copy the success of Fuego, and that can only be a good thing at this point. So, as they tend to do when they go all in, Serbia has utterly crushed it with this song. Bravissima. Right out of the gate, and coming as no surprise considering what we know at least two of them to be capable of based on their previous Eurovision appearances, the national final performance demonstrates that all three of the so-called Hurricane Girls have an excellent capacity for vocals, both as individuals and as a harmonizing trio. They can work separately, they can work together. For example, if they were to compete on The Voice, they would go really far naturally just off the back of that ability alone, whether they entered separately or as a trio. But they are more than just a pretty voice each too. At Beovizia, they demonstrated an equally strong propensity for convincing choreography, again, both as individuals and as a combined group, as a united front. This isn't the first time I've praised one of this year's acts for having strong synergy by any means, but it's just as true here as it was the last time I said it. There's a part of me that can't help but go, yas, queens, when they perform, and I suppose it's good that their energy is infectious like that. Now, while I don't speak Serbian myself, I have read the lyrics, and I get the impression that this will be a kind of empowering sort of thing to the ears of anyone who needed to hear something like this. Sure, it's not a groundbreaking epic about something philosophically mind-blowing or anything, but there may well be people out there going through a breakup of some kind who would benefit immensely from hearing this kind of sashaying strength to the effect of, "Screw you, ex-datemate, I have moved on." As I said, their energy is infectious, and if you're feeling down after splitting up with someone, this is just the kind of thing to help you get back on your feet. And in a way that kind of feeds into that energy, one thing that I personally really liked was the inclusion of the sound of marching as a non-standard percussion layer to give the instrumental more development. From what I can tell, that was only present in the national final mix of the song, and was kind of absent in the official music video, so I hope they bring that back for the Eurovision performance. It's thematically appropriate for the song's driving energy and the "come on ladies, let's get in formation" kind of atmosphere. Not to mention, it's evocative of the notion of leaving the past in the past and marching on towards whatever the future holds. You might not be a fan of the genre overall, but you certainly can't call this song mindless. Of course, say what you will about the song's positive qualities, that doesn't mean that you're obliged to like it. For one thing, I'll be the first to admit that this is another song this year that comes on very strong and has kind of a hyper-stimulating effect as a result. Now behave, I'm not talking about naughty appeal of any kind, I mean musically there's a lot going on multiple layers, all of which being rather high energy in their own right. So when you put them together, for people sensitive to that sort of thing, and I'm especially thinking of certain branches of neurodivergence here, it can be distracting and disassociation inducing. It works for what the song's going for, it's right for the aesthetic of what this performance needs, it's just that doesn't guarantee that everyone will respond well to it, you know? Also, for all the praise that I heaped upon the song's attitude and message, that is kind of going to fall on deaf ears if you don't speak the language. Sure, the choreography conveys plenty about their sassy mentalities, the whole Z-snap kind of situation, but if you don't know what's being sung, then you're probably just going to get caught on the "Hasta La Vista, baby" over and over again, and it'll start to sound repetitive simply because your mind doesn't have anything else to latch onto between the repeats of the titular phrase, which is easy enough to recognise. I trust that makes sense. It isn't egregiously repetitive, but if you haven't had any lyrical ballast, I suppose you could call it, to focus on in between instances, then it might just sound repetitive because that's the only lyric that your brain can properly latch onto. I think it works better in Serbian. I don't think they should translate it. It's just, if you don't speak Serbian, then obviously the Serbian lyrics are going to pass you by, and then there's a knock-on effect from that. And all of that aside, while I maintain that this is a good example of reggaeton pop because it uses the rhythm but doesn't rely on it, nor does it try to copy what Fuego did with it, I will still admit some people are going to be burned out on that whole rhythm as a whole. They'll just hear the kind of rhythm and they'll just instantly switch off, just because the overabundance of its usage that we've been through lately, both in Eurovision and in the charts out there in the real world, on several different national and international fronts. It's not a bad point against this song in particular, because this song actually does use it to great effect, but it is still something that you might not like. Oh well, you can't please all the people all the time. Now, to give it a rating. Some people are gonna hate me for this, but I want to give this a personal 10 out of 10. I make no apologies for that. Maybe this is trash pop in your opinion, but as Belarus proved last year, I'm kind of a sucker for trash pop if it's done well, and this is done well. And this at least has more style and substance than Like It did anyway. As I said earlier, there's just something in how the three of them present this song that just sets my soul to yas queening, which could be a bit cringeworthy, I admit, but I'm here for this song, I'm living for it. It's not a song that I can necessarily empathise with in terms of lyrics, I don't really live that kind of life, but I mean, come on, this is a bop! This probably won't be my number one favourite when I make my top 41, but still, when Serbia hits the stage in Rotterdam, I'll pretty much be, well, this. On the technical side of matters, fight me if you want, but this is worth at least a 9 out of 10 in my professional opinion. As performers, Ivana, Sanja and Ksenia absolutely crush it both live and in the studio, and the overall arrangement, especially the version used in the national final with the sound of marching, is perfectly evocative of the mood that the song is aiming for. Yes, there are some people who won't be a fan of this sort of music, and that's fine, and there are others who might find it musically overwhelming, and that is a valid reaction to have as well. That's, you know, I will defend your right to dislike this song before I'll defend the fact that I do like it. But basically, if the song is lacking in any areas on the musical front, then Hurricane themselves elevate it the rest of the way with the sheer capacity they have for live performing. Anything past that, just a matter of personal taste. So, having said that, how would I rate this as a piece of Serbia's Eurovision history? I'd call it a blue arrow. Beovizia is Beovizia. Nothing else to say. Judging by the video on the Eurovision YouTube channel, the stage looked sufficiently adequate, and they attracted a decent audience, both domestically and internationally. Oh no, my camera died. As I was saying, based on what I've seen on the Eurovision YouTube channel, the stage of Beovisia looked fine, the venue looked fine, you know, they attracted a decent audience both live in person and internationally on the internet. You know, there was plenty of attention online, so basically everything's doing fine, and the results that Beovisia winners have gone on to achieve at Eurovision seems to reflect that too. No change needed, hence Blue Arrow. I will say though, they have come such a long way since the 3 acts and sing each song 12 times format that they had in 2015. Still, could Serbia do better in their song selection process? I mean, probably, in theory. Do they need to? No, not really, and that's good. But will Serbia qualify as they so often do? Well, Serbia performs in semi-final 2 this year, and that's considered by the fandom to be the more wide open of the 2 semi-finals, so I expect this will probably qualify with minimal difficulties. Serbia is a mainstay of the Eurovision final. We'd be remiss without them. And even though all the other ex-Yugoslav nations that are competing this year do so in the other semi-final, I think Hurricane's compelling performance will capture the attention of the nations who can vote for this song. Like my own, for instance. I will probably vote for this, and I think a fair few other people in the UK probably will as well. I don't think the juries will necessarily fall head over heels for this sort of thing, but surely, as music professionals, they can't deny that it's at least a solid and well-presented composition performed by 3 people who know how to own the stage, so they can't justify withholding points from them, surely. If it doesn't qualify, I think I would understand why, but I'd still be incredibly surprised. Still though, that's just me. How out of touch do you think I am? That's a thing that you could discuss in the comments below, but please try to keep it focused on the song. And also the iCard vote, let me know how you feel about this song. And yeah, to Team Serbia, to Hurricane, I wish you the very best of luck, and I like your song, so I can't wait to see more of it in May, in Rotterdam, on stage. Ah, yes, Queen, etc.